Tonight we will take another lap through the book of Psalms. We begin the book of Psalms tonight with Psalm 1. Israel's hymn book, the hymn book of the covenant people. Primary authors, David, another guy, Asaph, and a few others have contributed. We'll see that as we go along. You know David's story fairly well. You should know David. He's one of those characters that the scripture speaks so much about. He's the most of the references to anybody other than Christ in the New Testament belong to David. His name is mentioned more in the New Testament than anybody, even more than Abraham or Moses, David. His prophecies are more frequently quoted by the apostles in the book of Acts as they preach. Initially, to the Jews, they quote David as prophet more than any other prophet. That's a big deal. David's name is the first name other than Christ that is mentioned, and the last name in the New Testament, first and last, other than Christ. So he's got a very significant place. He's a man that we hear God saying, that's my kind of guy. And the Lord doesn't say that about very many. Men after my own heart. So let's take a look into the heart of David from the Psalms that he wrote, and see if we can learn a few things about what we aim to be as men and women after God's own heart. The LSB does us a service by laying out three primary expressions that occur throughout the Psalms. The first one you're probably aware of is Selah. Selah. And in all honesty, the scholars behind the LSB have to tell us possibly indicates pause, crescendo, or musical interlude. Pause. I personally believe as a musician, though mediocre musician, I write songs, and I believe that Selah is best understood as really just dwell on that while the music continues. I believe, frankly, it's the place for an ancient lead break, lead guitar, or lead harp, where David would just throw the word Selah in to indicate his intention was to continue to play and let the truth of what was just expressed, just let that truth continue to reverberate. And I believe that. The other two words are meskil, a meskil. David will say this is a meskil. And again, the scholars have to say possibly contemplative, didactic, or a skillful psalm. It's either a contemplative, didactic, or a skillful psalm. And I think some of them, meskil psalms are complex in their structure. The last one is miktam. And the scholars here tell us possibly epigrammatic poem or atonement psalm, epigrammatic. And you'll see as we go through these, I'll try to point those out to you and see what that reference is about. Psalm 1 begins in verse 1 with how blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, nor stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of scoffers. But his delight is in the law of Yahweh. And in his law he meditates day and night. And he will be like a tree firmly planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. And in whatever he does, he prospers. The wicked are not so, but they are like chaff, which the wind drives away. And therefore the wicked will not rise in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For Yahweh knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. Psalm 1 is a great kickoff, and it's one that we could teach our children to memorize easily. And it contrasts the blessed, the happy, which is what blessed means, contrasting the blessed with the not blessed, or the oh how unfortunate. Woe to them. Blessed and woe kind of mean the exact opposites. Son of God gives us, oh, how blessed are the meek, how blessed are the peacemakers, blessed are the poor in spirit. He gives us what have been commonly referred to as the Beatitudes. Eight sort of descriptions of the blessed kind of person. Now, most consider the Sermon on the Mount, that includes the Beatitudes, to be the manifesto of a kingdom, and the king is the one delivering it. So this is what kind of kingdom this is. The blessed ones are the poor in spirit, the humble, meek, the ones who mourn, the ones who hunger and thirst for righteousness, the ones who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, and such things as that. The Lord says these are the truly blessed ones. The same Lord who began his ministry with those 8 Beatitudes ends his ministry in Matthew chapter 23. At the end of his ministry, he pronounces 8 woes. And he aims them directly at the religious establishment. Scribes and Pharisees, ones he called hypocrites. And he said repeatedly, woe unto you. 8 times, woe unto you. And he describes them for what is so very woeful about them. So the contrast, like the Lord does, the blessed versus the ones should be envied versus the ones who are to be pitied. The blessed versus the really sorry. Psalm 1 is like that. The blessed man. So we begin with the first thing the blessed man doesn't do. The blessed man, the blessed woman, does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, nor stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of scoffers. That's really a great picture of lack of progress, or even worse, arrested progress. For as soon as you begin to walk in the counsel of the wicked, next thing you know, you're standing. You're no longer walking, now you're standing. You've lost forward momentum. And before you know it, you're standing in the way of sinners, and then you're sitting. Truly, if you follow bad advice, the counsel of the ungodly, as the Psalm, the King James Version renders it, here, the counsel of the wicked. Think about all of the various forms of media. Man, when I began in ministry, we would talk about media, meaning the record industry, radio, entertainment, and television, movies. Man, it's a lot more than that now. It's overwhelming. But all of that, every single singer, every single song, in a sense, is offering counsel, offering their perspective, offering a thought, and trying to get the hearer to agree with the thought. And so that's one of the complaints I've always had about secular music for a person of faith. Steady diet of secular music is a steady diet of the counsel of the ungodly. The blessed person is known for how blessed he is by what he does not do. First, he doesn't walk in that counsel. He doesn't apply the foolish thinking, the foolish mentality of the ungodly. Then he doesn't participate. Standing in the way of sinners is an indication of participation in lifestyle, in action. And ultimately that lands somebody in the seat of scoffers or scorners. Somebody who has just rejected wisdom, rejected counsel. They're just a scorner, just a scoffer, going nowhere, but thinking, well, they go nowhere, that they're smarter than those who are going somewhere. It's an irony. They've lost forward momentum. They've stopped progressing. They regressed and arrested completely their momentum. They sit in the seat of scoffers. They have no idea what they've sacrificed, no idea what they've lost. But they sit there like a fool, judging everybody and scoffing, scorning wisdom. So the first thing we read about the blessed person is what they do not do. They don't do those things. And it all starts with listening to and then walking, applying foolish thinking. But instead, what he does do, what does the blessed person do? The blessed person delights in the law of Yahweh. The person who is truly blessed, who is truly going to experience good, the person who is truly inviting good in their life, think about the contrast. Rather than walking in the counsel of the wicked, he delights in the law of Yahweh. Delighting in the law of Yahweh, truly delights in it, makes it their business, considers the wisdom of it. Not only does he delight in it, he meditates in it day and night. Meditates, that brings us again to consider the verb that has been given to us here. Meditates. When you hear that term in modern America, you might be tempted to associate that with the practice of Eastern mystics. But that's not accurate, because what they do in meditation, or what they call meditation, is exactly the opposite of meditation. It is the exact opposite. It is the effort to not think of anything, to actually empty your mind, to try to go blank. Meditation in a biblical context, this verb translated for us here in the English Bible is meditate. It means the exact opposite of emptying your brain. It means to actually muse. Surely everyone in this room, modern America, knows what it is to amuse. We know what amusement is. Adding that prefix, it means to not think. We want a distraction. We go to a show because we don't want to think. We go to watch a show. We get involved in a game. Rather than actually musing, we like to amuse because amusing is fun. But musing does take some degree of work. Meditating is musing. Meditating is actually thinking. It's actually chewing on a matter. That's the word. The Hebrew word is associated with the clean animals. And how do we know the clean animals in God's economy? The clean animals have two traits. You know what they are. Number one, they chew the cud. Number two, they have a split hoof. They have a split hoof. It's trademark. The genius of creation, the Creator himself, he made it this way so that you could easily identify them. So the covenant people didn't have a complicated shopping list of what to eat and not eat. He said, I'm going to give you two traits. Oh, the wisdom of that. Two traits. Land animals got a split hoof. Not a solid hoof, split hoof. Now, some land animals have a split hoof, but they're still really unclean, like the swine. So God says not just the split hoof, but they have the split hoof, and they chew the cud. They are eaters of green. They consume vegetation, and they extract every single nutrient of life out of the green. Now, I've made an observation. There are some men, only men in my world, my realm, that eat too fast. And they eat like crocodiles, man. They just line food up and swallow it. I really do believe we ought to savor our food, and we ought to actually enjoy it, that we were made to chew. We're made for it. Sadly, there's a documentary and a book that authored Jaws that talks about the modern diet and how we have softened all our food and eliminated all of the hard things. We don't want any work associated with eating. So I don't know if you guys know this, but if you travel around the world, if you go, for example, if you go to Kenya, any other third world country, and you eat what they have for chickens, you'll find their chickens chewier than our chicken. And our farmers have been busy trying to produce the limpest, melt-in-your-mouth kind of chicken. They've done the same thing with our beef. And we're pathetic. We really are. We're like, oh, chewy. Away with it. Away with it. It's tough. Tough is really good for you. Actually, you need to work your jaw. It's actually good for you. It's good for us and for our dental structure and everything else. We're made to chew on things and actually to enjoy the chewing and extract flavor out of the chewing. And not just flavor, but nutrients, nutrition. So the spiritual practice of true meditation is to actually just continue to chew on the matter, to chew on the truth, to continue to suck out of that expression of wisdom all of the nutrients, spiritually speaking, intellectually speaking, the wisdom of it all, to see it from a whole bunch of different angles, and to recognize all of the many facets of the wisdom of God. You follow what I'm saying here? That chewing is something we ought to do. Now, I know you know what I'm talking about, because if you have a worry, you chew on it. Don't tell me you don't. If you have a fear, you're prone to chew on it. If you have an offense, don't we find it easy to dwell on that? Think about it. Think about it from every angle and keep replaying it. We will chew on a worry, we'll chew on a fear, an offense. We don't have to discipline ourselves to do that. It's quite natural. They'll sort of, capture our focus and really sort of distract us from everything else. That's a real danger. To actually chew on the truth sometimes requires discipline. Requires the same discipline it takes to reject the Twinkie and grab the celery. If you've eaten celery, you're also going to have to floss, right? All those little stringy fibers. I like celery. By itself is okay. It's a lot better with peanut butter and raisins in it, in that hollowed out little flue that is the celery stalk. That's really good for you. Man, I really like that. What do they call that? Ants in a log, that's what that is. I don't know, maybe I'm just a little kid enough to really like that. Still, those things somehow belong together. Who knew? Peanut butter, George Washington Carver, and raisins in yourself. But man, to turn your back on a junk, to say no to the whoopie pie, or something worse, and to actually physically say, no, I want to chew on that piece of fruit. I'm going to chew on those nuts. Great source of protein. I'm going to do that instead of just buying them already ground into some kind of some kind of a peanut butter. I'll chew the peanuts instead, right? It's really good for you. It's really good. My wife does all that stuff. She's really got a good, she's really good about it. She'll put together she'll get a paper plate and load it with just a couple mandarin oranges, a bunch of nuts, I don't know, like a celery stalk, all this super healthy stuff. She doesn't eat a whole lot of anything. But the two things that I can always tell, she's had herself a little chew fest. It's sunflower seeds and peanuts with the shells. And this would be like an evening thing, and I'll come down in the morning because I go to bed earlier than I come down this season of our life, but I'm up really early. I come down and man, it looks like a squirrel got in the house. It's like the only time I have to vacuum in the morning. Oh, goodness sake, what happened here? Peanut shells are flying all over the place. She's got a murder mystery and peanuts. It's like Cookie Monster and those things. But she chooses wisely. One of the reasons why I think she looks so young. She chooses wisely. She eats the most wholesome stuff. Now, spiritually, are we doing the same thing? Spiritually, mentally, do we do the same thing? Do you reject? Imagine it this way. I do. Because, I don't know, maybe this doesn't work for you. Maybe you got to be old like me to remember when television had a dial. You had to get up and walk over across the room, grab the knob, and go, ka-tish, 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 and turn the channel. I don't know what it's like now. But mentally speaking, you can do the same thing. What do you do when you realize that what's on your television is junk? It's immoral. It's the counsel of the ungodly. It's lewd. It's offensive. It's numbing you to the offense. You get up and you walk over. No, you pick up your remote control and you work your thumb. You make a change, right? But you can do that. No remote control, no TV screen. It's all here. You and I can, in fact, choose to meditate, to turn the channel, as it were. Turn the channel off of your fear, off your worry, off the offense, the bitterness that you just want to keep reviewing. Keep reviewing your case. I knew a man. He let himself get bitter in his heart. He believed he'd been wronged. I invited him to come to a meeting with me. Come, hear the word. Join us in this particular meeting, the conference. He sat beside me. Because he's sitting right beside me, I was able to look over what he's doing. He spent his whole time reviewing his case. He spent his whole time flipping through all his notes of all that had been done to him and all that he believed was wrong, reinforcing, reviewing, looking for an opportunity to present his case. That's meditation. And that's meditation on the wrong thing. Man, he needed to turn the channel. He needed to just give it all to God. Take that whole pile, your whole case, and just throw it up to God and let it go. Take it out and burn it. Offer it up. Send it heavenward in the smoke. You know what I'm talking about? But do you have things like that? You tend to keep going right back to it. You listen to what I'm saying to you. You have choices to make. We all do. The blessed man, you want to be blessed? Turn the channel. You want to be blessed? Stop it. Stop doing that. Stop reviewing all of that. Meditate instead, day and night, on the law of the Lord, the wisdom of God, His word. There's the promise. What a beautiful promise. And listen, this is an action that people take who are blessed. They're not doing it because they're blessed because they're doing it. You hear what I just said to you? And here the promise is he'll be like a tree firmly planted by streams of water. This is the most beautiful picture. He'll be like a tree firmly planted by a water source. A tree by the water. What does that look like? It flourishes. It's stable. It's a picture of stability. Its roots go down. It's tapped in. The best trees have what you call a tap root right in the center that just goes down looking for that water table. They call it a tap root. It's good because it's tapping in to the underground water. Man, that's the way to be. That's a picture of stability, the picture of fruitfulness, the picture of life. It's this statement here, which yields its fruit in its season. You want to be fruitful. My friend, do you want to be fruitful? You want to be the blessed person? Man, don't walk in the counsel of the ungodly. Don't stand in the way of sinners. Don't sit in the seat of scoffers, but instead continue to just muse on the wisdom of God. Do that. Meditate on that day and night. Chew on it. Chew on it. The clean eaters, that's what they do. I don't know, it happened yesterday. Watching Komodo dragons. These documentaries. In Indonesia, I hate Komodo dragons. I hate them. They'll eat things alive. They'll chase it down, stalk it, and then just grab it with their gaping, nasty, filthy jaws, and then just line it up. I watched one swallow a whole boar. That's a massive dragon. Hideous creature. Consider the contrast between that and a happy cow or a happy lamb. Maybe cows, you're not comfortable with that. Just think about a happy bull. It's just grazing. Got good grass. A happy lamb. Their little jaw just going all day long, just chewing. A clean animal does that with his jaw. The wise, blessed person does it with his or her mind. So then the contrast. No withering to the leaf. Whatever he does, it prospers. Now, you can't take that to, mean the word of faith Kenneth Copeland, Kenneth Hagin, Jerry Saville, shyster type of way. Now, whatever he does prospers. You be blessed because you have wisdom to apply, because wisdom works. Wisdom is justified of her children. So, the contrast with the wicked, they're not like that. He just said, but the wicked are not so. Not so. Not stable, not fruitful, not filled with life, not prospering. No, the wicked are not so. They're like chaff. It's like the chaff which the wind drives away. So you understand, chaff is when you separate the wheat kernel from everything else on the wheat plant, the stalk and all of the various leaves. It's dry by the time the harvest happens, and it all crumbles. It's all dry, and it all crumbles. And they are depending upon a breeze. So they always have the threshing floor of the wheat up on the high ground. Hopefully there's a breeze up there because they're going to beat and thrash that sheaf of wheat in such a way that all of the heavier kernels of wheat are separated. They come loose. And then you throw the whole thing in the air. You get a winnowing fork. And you throw that whole mass of wheat into the air, and all that light stuff, all that is not the kernel, just gets flicked away with the wind. That's what happens to the chaff. That's how the ungodly are, the wicked. They're like the chaff the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked will not rise in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. There's no glorious future for them. The statement here, for Yahweh knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. So it's very short-sighted. So the contrast in Psalm 1 is between two, but the central verb is meditate. Central verb of the blessed man is meditate, and the substance that he meditates on, the thing that he chews on, is the law of the Lord, the wisdom of it. Psalm 2. Psalm 2 is a prophetic psalm. I mentioned to you that overall, of the totality of the integrated message system that we call the canon of Scripture, some 30 or so % of the whole is prophecy. Well, it's also true of the hymn book for the covenant people. And this is one of those very prophetic psalms. I'll read it through first. Psalm 2, verse 1. Why do the nations rage? And the peoples meditate on vain things. The kings of the earth take their stand, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his anointed, saying, let us tear their fetters apart and cast away their cords from us. He who sits in the heavens laughs. The Lord mocks them. Then he speaks to them in his anger and terrifies them in his fury, saying, but as for me, I have installed my king upon Zion, my holy mountain. I will surely tell of the decree of Yahweh. He said to me, you are my son. Today I have begotten you. Ask of me. And I will surely give the nations as your inheritance, and the ends of the earth as your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall shatter them like a potter's vessel. So now, O kings, show insight. Take warnings, O judges of the earth. Serve Yahweh with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he become angry and you perish in the way. For his wrath may soon be kindled. How blessed are all who take refuge in him. So Psalm 2 speaks of Messiah. Speaks of Messiah. And that everybody on earth has business with Messiah. So it begins with the acknowledgement that the nations do something quite irrational. It's stated sort of rhetorically, why do the nations rage? Why is it that the Gentiles rage? those outside the covenant people, the covenant that Israel has with Yahweh, the Goyim, the Gentiles. Why do they rage? Why do they do this? And why do they imagine something that's absolutely futile? What is that thing that they meditate on? What is that thing that they imagine? Well, verse 2 says, the kings of the earth take their stand and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his anointed. That's with a capital A in the LSB, against Yahweh and against his anointed. Now, there are those in the Jewish religion now that rabbis would interpret his anointed as being Israel, God's anointed, Israel, God's servant. But clearly the context of Psalm 2 is of a king. Yahweh speaks of his king, and we'll connect that same expression in verse 6, I have installed my king, together with the word anointed in verse 2. So there is, and there's always been, it's a number of times. In fact, the apostles marveled. The apostles saw fulfillment of this psalm in the union between Herod, Caiaphas, and Pilate. They saw fulfillment of this, and they quoted this particular psalm in their prayer. The notion that the nations can all agree together and overthrow God is an absolute absurdity that makes God laugh. But they do. They take their counsel, they put their brains together, they scheme. And their scheming is against Christ. And they say, let's just, overthrow God. Let's tear their fetters apart and cast away their cords from us. We got no obligation to God. He has no right. We don't owe him. What does God do? Bite his knuckles? Certainly not. God chuckles. The Creator looks at the whole world of humanity and all the nations, all of them putting their leagues together. And he goes, right. Oh my. He mocks them. He speaks to them in his anger and terrifies them in his fury. So God speaks in his anger. That is a statement that he judges. He pours out wrath. That's God speaking. He terrifies them in his fury, saying, but as for me, I have installed my king upon Zion, my holy mountain. So God is, for the record, a Zionist. That term has come to mean something. And now, putting that together with the word Christian Zionists, anti-Semites who claim to be Christian, have contempt for Christian Zionists. But God is the one who says, I've installed my king upon Zion, my holy mountain. It's his. And he doesn't ask for anybody's vote. God does not need anyone's approval. He's going to do what he does because he's God. Now look at this. Messiah is the one speaking from verse 7 on. Here, I will surely tell of the decree of Yahweh. He said to me, you are my son. Today I have begotten you. So there is in the Old Testament a singular, or as we would say, the words of Christ in John 3:16, only begotten son. There is a singular son that is begotten. Begotten. That's an interesting word. Remember the first time when you were a little kid, you came upon that word, you're reading the Bible, and you're like, so-and-so begat so-and-so, and so-and-so begat. I had a hard time putting that one together. What in the world is this begat thing? Okay, I get it. Took me a little while. I was just a little kid. But when it comes to the second person of the Trinity, it isn't just like it is on earth, where two people engage in the sexual act, whereby they bring together, 23 chromosomes from one, 23 from another, and this miraculous thing of conception takes place, and a life comes to exist. It's very much like both of them. That kind of, physical begetting is different than the sense in which the Son of God is begotten. Now, he is begotten physically, but you need to understand about Christ that he is eternally begotten of the Father. try to chew on that one. He is eternally begotten, eternally proceeding from God the Father. Emanating from the Father is the Son. But there comes a point, there comes a time. He said to me, "You are my Son, today I've begotten you." So there is a singular event that has a today. I maintain that is the fulfillment of the very words of the angel Gabriel to Mary, the mother of our King, where the power of the Most High will overshadow you. The Spirit of God, supernaturally conceived in the Virgin, the Creator himself, bypassing as he did all that he established in the natural process to do something more than natural, supernatural, and conceived a man who in a sense has always been. But look at this. Today he said to me, "You're my Son, today I've begotten you. Ask of me, and I will surely give the nations as your inheritance." The nations that rage, the nations that meditate on or imagine a vain, futile thing. God the Father says to the Son, "Ask of me, I'll give you the nations as your inheritance. The ends of the earth is your possession." So in other words, he is going to be king no matter what. He is and he will be. Verse 9, God the Father says to the Son, "You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall shatter them like a potter's vessel." Think about that. He's talking about nations. Nations, whole world empires, shattered like nothing but a clay jar. A rod of iron meeting ceramics. So he concludes with some advice. David the psalmist concludes with advice. "So now, O kings, show insight. Take warning, O judges of the earth. Serve Yahweh with fear." Here, this is the chief duty of man. Be wise. Make peace and take advantage of the peace, the deal that the Creator offers. Serve the Yahweh with fear. Rejoice with trembling. I like that. Rejoice with trembling. That's the combination of reverence and joy. In this statement, kiss the Son, lest he become angry. The very Son that is spoken of here in verse 7. He said to me, "You are my Son." Kiss the Son. That is coming from Messiah. That is a message from Messiah that comes through the psalmist, the prophet David, that is delivered to all of the generations that followed. Kiss the Son, lest he become angry and you perish in the way, for his wrath may soon be kindled. The wrath, whose wrath? The wrath of the Son. Well, with that, I once again reference the 6th chapter of the book of Revelation. Because it's prophesied there's a dreadful day that is coming. Revelation chapter 6. Frightening. Verse 12. "Then I looked when he opened the 6th seal. There was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth made of hair, and the whole moon became like blood. The stars of the sky fell to the earth as a fig tree cast its unripe figs when shaken by a great wind. The sky was split apart like a scroll when it's rolled up, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. Then the kings of the earth, and the great man, and the commanders, and the rich men, and the strong, and every slave and free man hid themselves in the caves and among the rocks of the mountains. And they said to the mountains and the rocks, "Fall on us and hide us from the presence of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb." The great day of their wrath is come, and who is able to stand? That, bro, is a scary future day for the earth dwellers. For the leaders of the world, for all the super rich in their super, high-tech, bug-out underground bunkers, all of them trembling in their bunkers. The end of the Great Tribulation. Overwhelming horror and dread that the king that they plotted against, the king that they imagined futility against, is coming. And none of their efforts on earth changed that even a little. Man. Now, that gives me a chill and a thrill. None of their blasphemous efforts, none of their social engineering, none of their science. I always think of that arrogant nutcase, Noah Yuval Harari, the Jewish professor, that is the most eloquent in just spewing Antichrist philosophy and science. He really believes the age of free will is over. Listen to this guy. I haven't seen anything from him lately. Maybe he died. I don't know what happened to the guy. But he was the chief advisor to Klaus Schwab, who's got Schwabbed right out of the World Economic Forum. That old geezer. We're talking about the guy that said, you will own nothing and you will be happy. You will eat the bugs and you'll like it. The super rich who would get together at Davos and conspire. They had this one particular Jewish professor, gay guy, Noah Harari, and his arrogance about the age of human technology has brought man to the place of his next great leap in evolution. And we will become gods. We will engineer life. I'm serious. That guy's got a scary day coming. A very, very scary day. All of that arrogance and all of that engineering and all of that maneuvering, all of that manipulating of economics and politics to try to bring something about. And it all ends in a bunker, wishing for a cave-in, crying for the mountains to fall on you. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever spent any time? You got any claustrophobia in you? You ever thought about being trapped, buried alive? You can't breathe. You ever thought about that? Oh, come on. You ever thought about just being in? I don't like crawling into holes in the ground and going spelunking. Guys that do that, there's something wrong with them. I've been in a few caves. As long as it's big, I'm cool. But when it starts getting really, really narrow, and you're going to start trying to fit yourself through, and there's nothing but tons of rock above you. I panic. I don't like it. Even more so if the light goes out. You got something, you got no light? Have you been there? Have you done any of that? I don't dig it. Connor, that is not the place for us. Not the place for you. You're larger than me. It's not the place. Underground, we're not worms. We don't burrow. Can you imagine coming to a place where what is coming is known to you? Coming to the earth, and you would prefer to be buried alive, that you'd prefer a cave-in of your entire underground system rather than to have to face the one coming. Is that not an absolutely dreadful thing to consider? That's what Psalm 2 and what I think Revelation chapter 6 predicts to get there. Yeah, bro. The great day of his wrath is come. So you got a deal. So Psalm 2 lays out, though, you got a deal, because you don't have to dread that day. You can kiss the Son. You can meet God on God's terms. He's made it. The good news, the gospel is free. It's available all the while we're alive, man. We have this opportunity at any time that we can just meet God on God's terms. Kiss the Son, make peace, take the deal. Man, what's the alternative to that? It's really quite dreadful. Kiss the Son. What a sweet statement. Just kiss the Son. This is the Creator himself going, why do you want to fight with me? We can be friends. It's the Creator. Why make enemies with the Almighty when you can be his child? You can be on his side. Psalm 2, man, it does this. Psalm 2 does this thing. Kiss the Son. You got a limited time offer here. Kiss the Son lest it become angry and you perish in the way. For his wrath may soon be kindled. It could happen. It could happen any time. It could be quickly kindled. And the final statement is, how blessed are all those who take refuge in him. That word blessed appears again. Same word from Psalm 1. Who are the happy ones? Who are the fortunate ones? Those who take refuge in him. Contrast that, will you please? Contrast him as your refuge with, those guys in Revelation chapter 6 who got the underground network of, super prepper. Think about that. God is a better refuge. God, our Creator. Isaiah 25. Take a look at it real quick. I was blessed to receive this particular verse at 3:17 a.m. Pastor Bill Gallatin. I like that Bill is up that early and that he knows I am likely. Well, I'll see it when I wake up. Isaiah 25, O Yahweh, you are my God. I will exalt you, I will give thanks to your name. For you have worked wonders, counsels formed long ago with perfect faithfulness. For you have made a city into a heap, a fortified town into a ruin. A palace of strangers is a city no more. It will never be rebuilt. Therefore a strong people will glorify you. Towns of ruthless nations will fear you. You have been a strong defense for the poor, a strong defense for the needy in his distress, a refuge from the storm, a shade from the heat. For the breath of the ruthless is like a rainstorm against a wall, like heat in a dry land. You subdue the rumblings of strangers, like heat by the shadow of a cloud. The song of the ruthless is silenced. Yahweh of hosts will prepare a lavish banquet for all peoples on this mountain, a banquet of aged wine, choice pieces with marrow and refined aged wine. And on this mountain he will swallow up the covering, which is over all peoples, even the veil which is stretched over all nations. He will swallow up death for all time. For Yahweh will wipe tears away from all faces, and he will remove the reproach of his people from all the earth, for Yahweh has spoken. And it will be said in that day, behold, this is our God, in whom we have hoped that he would save us. This is Yahweh, in whom we have hoped. Let us rejoice and be glad in his salvation, for the hand of Yahweh will rest on this mountain. Moab will be trodden down in his place, as straw is trodden down in the water of a manure pile. And he will spread out his hands in the middle of it, as a swimmer spreads out his hands to swim, but Yahweh will lay low his lofty pride together with the trickery of his hands. The unassailable fortifications of your walls he will bring down, lay low, and cast to the ground, even to the dust. So in that prophecy, in Isaiah 25, there is, in fact, a great day of judgment that is spoken of. The day when every single man-made thing collapses, when it's all brought down. But who is the fortunate one? Just as Psalm 2 ends, how blessed are all those who take refuge in him. He is that refuge. He is the one that we can run to. A refuge from the storm. Shade from the heat. That's who the Lord is. Good place to stop right there, the end of Psalm 2. We did 2 whole Psalms. 2 whole Psalms. We'll do better sometimes as we do this journey. Let's all stand together, and when the band comes and gets their instruments back on, we can go out of here singing. Anybody looked out the window? Is the snow started yet? Has it? Well, it's good we got a refuge in the storm. I encourage you tonight, I do encourage you, practice this meditation thing. Learn to turn a channel. Learn to delete some channels. Learn to meditate. Catch yourself every now and then, you go, what am I thinking about? Oh, that's stupid. And let's go right back to the goodness of God and the truth of his word. You want to be blessed? There's a recipe for blessing. You want to be stable, fruitful, alive. You want to flourish? That's the secret. Delight in the Lord, meditate in his law day and night.